I'm going to start you off by saying, can you introduce yourself and can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Nancy I. Sanders, and I'm a children's book author. I've written probably about 130 books over the course of my writing career. I write half for the general market, half for the Christian market, but everything I write is with a biblical worldview. And my newest book is called Bedtime with Mommy. And that's been a really fun book to work on and to get out there with Endgame Press. It's been such an exciting journey.
Yeah, I'm sure. Can you tell us a little bit about this book? Just kind of what was the inspiration? What is it about?
Well, the inspiration behind this book was I knew I wanted to write a book that every child would want and every parent would want. And so I just thought about a lot of common things in childhood because I have 4 grandchildren who live 4 doors away. And right now their ages 6 down to 1. So when I was actually writing this book, the youngest was born around that time. And so I knew bedtime was a big deal with the children, whether we're watching them as grandparents to have them for an overnight, or if we're seeing them get ready for bed at their house. And they always want to read a book. That's just their last, can we read a book? Can we read a book before we go to bed? And so I thought, a bedtime book. And then there's such a special bond between a mommy and child that I just thought, bedtime with mommy, what can be sweeter? And so that was the inspiration behind this book.
Cool. Can you tell me, you did a little bit touch on the purpose of the book, but I see the cover is behind you. So can you talk about, your role in the art within the book and kind of the pictures and how those were chosen and stuff like that?
Okay, yes. Well, as a children's book author, I don't have much input in any of the art. The publisher picks the illustrator, and I just love the illustrator that is doing this book. And her name is Philia, and she just does such a beautiful job with the animals and how warm and cuddly everything looks. And about the different animals that are in here, I wanted to feature animals around the world because I wanted children all around the world, no matter what country they're in or what animals they're used to in their home, that they could identify with one of these. So there's animals, there's elephants from the grasslands of Africa. There's a sloth from the rainforest. There's, let's see, who else do we have in here? There's a sea otter from the ocean. And there's even kangaroos from the outback. And pandas from China. So I just wanted to really pick animals around the world in different habitats to appeal to children wherever they are.
Cool. I love that concept. That's just such a fun idea to incorporate in a book for kids.
Thank you.
What do you kind of love about children's literature? You mentioned that you'd written a lot of children's books. So what kind of draws you to that genre, and why do you like to kind of stay there?
Well, one of the perks about writing for the very young is that you're actually reaching 2 audiences at once. If you're writing a picture book or like this is a board book, not only are you impacting a very young child's life, you're also impacting the adult who reads it to them. And so I feel like I get a double audience. And that was one of my purposes in writing this book, is I wanted to give young mothers a model to how to impart their faith to their child especially at bedtime, how they can say a prayer with them, how they can sing a worship song with them, how they can pray a blessing over them and read a favorite psalm. I was able to tuck all of these suggestions into this book. And so my purpose behind that is to really give the young moms an instruction manual on how to share their faith.
Cool. So this one definitely goes into the Christian market. Can you talk about how you go about writing a book for kids in the Christian market?
Okay, well, yes, this definitely isn't a Christian market, but we have seen people without any faith who are deeply touched by this book because it tugs at the heartstrings of every parent and child, just all the cuddles and the snuggles and how they're growing together with that. But as far as writing for the Christian market, I love writing for the Christian market because it's just such a wonderful way to teach kids and the adults who will be reading them or even are buying the book for them more about their faith. For instance, I wrote another book, a couple books on apologetics for children to just really understand how their faith is founded on fact. And so I just love being part of a faith journey in a family.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that idea. Um, what do you enjoy most about writing in general?
Well, the things I enjoy most about writing is the moment when it just sings on the page. For example, this book has a lot of rhyme, and so there's a lot of angst in writing in rhyme, at least for me, getting it to where it's past the forced rhyme stage and to where it just really sings. And I read it aloud to myself, to my husband. He helps give feedback to other people, to children. And when that reaches a point where it just sings, it's just a magical moment. I like that about writing, whether it's nonfiction, rhyme, not written in rhyme, there is a moment when what you're writing just sings. And that's a precious, fun moment to have as a writer.
Yeah. Going off of that a bit, can you talk a little bit about your writing process? Like when you sit down to kind of start writing, how does that look for you?
Well, first it starts with brainstorming. Um, I just taught a class yesterday to writers on how to write a book like this. And I told them it took me 6 months to brainstorm the concept for this book. And that means I'm reading in my genre. I have stacks of board books and picture books all over my office, that out through the house, different places that I sit, but I'm constantly reading and rereading. And then once I brainstorm my idea, I usually write the first draft, not at the computer. I have journals and blank notebooks that I fill up with my first drafts. And I carry those first draft notebooks with me wherever I go, in the car. If I'm going to babysit in the evening, I'll take it with me. And so I write it out by hand. I feel it allows my brain to be a little more creative and relaxed in the process. And so whether I'm writing a nonfiction book of 40,000 words for middle grade novel or this simple board book, I typically do write that longhand first. And then I take it to the computer and I type out the first draft. And once that first draft is down, the fun begins. I can add sensory details, take out some things, plug in other things, change an entire subplot, or even add a different character as an example for this book. So it's a lot of fun after that first draft is written to really try to get it to that place where it's what I want it to be.
Cool. I always love hearing about how different people write because writing is such a subjective art, as all art is. And so people approach it very differently and get very different results. And it's just very fun to see how different people create.
Absolutely.
We can do a couple more. One of the last ones, if not the last one that I want to ask you is just what do you really hope your audiences kind of take with them from this book? What is kind of your dream there?
My dream for this book and my hope for this book kind of goes back to the purpose that I wrote this book is I want adults who are reading this book aloud to the child to understand that they can start building a foundation of faith in an infancy stage and on up. You know, it's our opportunity to do that and to model examples of how to impart our faith into the lives of our children and grandchildren. And then the second purpose is for the young child who is listening to this book, or even as they get a little bit older and can read it themselves and they pick it up to read. I really want them to just understand they can talk to God every day. They can read their Bible every day, and that their world is filled with love and hope and faith. And I want them to get that deep inside them as they're growing up.
Great. I love that. Is there anything else that you'd kind of like to share just about this book, about you as a writer, about your wishes?
Well, okay. I'll share a little bit about myself as a writer, or just myself. Yeah, I'm married. I have 2 sons. Been married to my husband for 40 years. He's a retired teacher, elementary teacher, and we like to hike together. I'm a citizen scientist, so I love birds. I love nature, and I also enjoy quilting. And so I do enjoy doing a lot of different activities. One thing my husband and I do now that he's retired is we've joined an orchestra. And so he plays the double bass, and I am a mallet percussionist. So I'm doing the bells, the glockenspiel.
I used to do mallet percussion.
Did you? I love mallet percussion. So yeah. What instrument did you play?
I tended toward marimba.
Yes, I was a marimba player too.
I did eventually go into some other aspects of percussion with like timpani and
yes, that's exactly what I did. I was a marimba player and I started to learn timpani. And so, yeah, it is fun. We just got to timpani at the orchestra, so it's been exciting. So, yeah.
Nice. Cool. Any just kind of closing remarks?
Well, yes, I'm excited to share that Bedtime with Daddy is coming up next. It's already in the hands of the illustrator, so we're excited to see what Falia's going to do with that one. So keep your ears out for that.
That's great. All right. Thank you so much, Nancy. It was great to chat with you about this.
Thank you. It was great to be here.